Yeah, gentrification. So I didn't even know what this word was up until about like 2 years ago. And especially where we live on the Gold Coast, it's like definitely becoming gentrified. Like it's harder for people to live near the beach because of cost of living. So do you want to discuss what gentrification is? And
it's a big, long, fancy word.
Yeah.
Makes people sound smarter, but it's really just places moving from a lower socioeconomic to a medium to high, essentially. So that's the change. I mean, there's probably a more accurate definition you could Google, but that's how I see it anyway. Because, say, everyone who's listening to this, areas in your vicinity where you're like, oh, that's the ghetto, right? That's a bit of a We don't go there because we probably get sold.
Which is where I live now used to be a ghetto. Like it used to be very rough. So is that beckons the question, we're not going to go and tell people to invest in the ghetto, but like, how do you know when to invest in somewhere that's up and coming, or like what do we need to be looking for with gentrification, and what sort of data points?
Well, it's kind of common sense for me, really. Like the public housing levels are something to definitely monitor, but
so how many establishments are public housing?
Yeah, how many people in that, say, suburb are living in houses owned by the government?
And what percentage would you want?
I say 15 or below. 15. Below 15 is the key, and that's pretty high. So it depends on your risk appetite, but different price points too. Like if you've got a maximum budget of $350,000 and you want to buy an established house, you're going to be looking into locations that do have good public housing.
Mm-hmm.
It's often not a place where you want to live, but you're investing to make money, and for those price points.
And some people may actually, for where they can afford rent, and that's the location that is right for them, based on where they're at financially. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it fits their brief. If they're looking for cash flow or to increase their portfolio, they need to have assets that have a decent cash flow component, because when they go again to build another property, banks are going to look at, well, what's your cash flow? If it's negatively geared, your cash flow is going to be basically telling the banks that you don't have enough money to service a future loan.
You basically own a liability, not an asset.
Yeah, well, it's increasing in capital value. However, the cash flow component is, it's going to hold you back from number 2 and 3, and
like borrowing capacity.
Yeah, borrowing capacity wise, and
hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Get that resource, guys.
Oh yeah, how to maximise your borrowing capacity. That was good. So where am I? Gentrification. Yeah. So
is there a cap? Is there a cap? Like you say, no more than 15% public housing in an area. But if there's like no public housing in the area, does that mean just don't go near it?
Oh no, it's gravy.
Okay, cool.
Oh, good. So. Gravy means good.
Not if you're allergic to gravy like myself.
Yeah. Gluten free over here. But so common sense. Like if you're looking at an area that's got high public housing level, but all around it is low public housing, that's that gentrification effect, because those people that live in there, their rents start going up because the demand. People with the higher pay package that can either afford higher rent or want to buy a property, they're buying in there and doing them up and increasing its value. So those people that are on that public housing banner, generally it sounds kind of bad, but they get pushed out over time.
Yeah, because
governments that own assets in that location, they sell them down. And then they're always buying assets in different locations to house these people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like that whole gentrification effect. It takes years to happen, but anyone who's listened to this knows there's locations that you grew up in where you were like, oh, we don't go there.
Yeah.
And now you're like, how the hell did someone just pay $1 million to live in that ghetto?
Stevens.
Yeah, for us it's Stevens Street in Varsity. I was actually looking at buying my first property there for $350,000, and if you look at that's in Stevens Street. I think it's still in the 4228 postcode.
Yeah, well, they changed it. It was Stevens as a suburb, Was it Stevens?
Uh,
They merged it. They just basically put Varsity Lakes and Burleigh, which are two different suburbs, and had them merged together over top of this suburb that had a bad name.
Yeah.
Just because it was like the.
Well, for me, I was, even when I was a young fella, I was still looking at that and going, well,
Do you remember I got punched in the head
yeah,
there
yeah.
through my car window?
Yeah.
Like there was a bunch of guys that must have been like 18. I don't think we were drinking, but there was like, I don't know.
Well, you were driving, so
I was driving, yeah. It was like 15 or 20 people
It was-
running after my car, throwing stuff, and then somebody punched me
Yeah.
in the head through the car window.
Yeah, we were just having a chat, and this
Yeah.
dude just punched him, and then someone threw a can at the window when
Yeah,
he was driving off.
yeah. And
So,
that was
yeah.
just being in the suburb. So
Yeah, that was the ghetto. But now,
now, you're buying probably like more than $1 million for a property there.
yeah, decent one. But
So that's gentrification.
that's gentrification, and it's you sort of look around it and go, well, I don't want to live there. If you're sitting there thinking I wouldn't live there, but I'd live there all the way around there because it's quite nice, I go and buy there because
That's a good location.
Yeah.
Okay.
you just got to stack up saying, well, if I'm going to go and live there as my own occupier, I've got to live for a few years with a little bit of ghetto-ness going around me.
Yeah, a little bit of a rough street down the road.
Yeah, but you're surrounded, but you can see it because people are renovating houses around you. They're increasing that wealth. So,
That minimum local government area population is above 50,000. Days on market's good.